you cannot out earn yourself if you are not willing to invest in yourself. So many people think if they just work harder, if they just push more, if they just work more hours, then they'll make more money. But if you are not willing to invest in yourself monetarily with money into a program, into a container, into a mastermind, I just can't emphasize enough, you cannot out earn yourself if you are not willing to invest in yourself. Hello. Welcome back to the Be That Girl YouTube channel. Welcome back. I'm excited to record this video today. It's a little bit of an impromptu video. I haven't done a solo episode in a while, but I just got back from a business trip to Palm Springs, California. I had never been there before. It was delightful, let me tell you. And I want to share about my experience. I want to share about why I was there, what I learned, what my top 5 takeaways were from the week. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first of all, why was I in Palm Springs? What was this business event for? So if you are new here, then you may not know that investing in myself and investing in my business is a huge value that I hold. If you're not new here, then you know that already. I have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars investing in myself, investing in my business over the past 6+ years. And this investment was one that I made about 2 years ago, and then I renewed in this past May. And I spent $70,000 for this 12-month container. So the program is specifically to teach me how to run paid advertising. So paid ads on Meta, which is like Facebook and Instagram, TikTok ads, LinkedIn ads, YouTube ads, Pinterest ads. Her program does everything. I'm with Ashley Brock, and she owns the Paid Ads Academy. And so it's not an agency style. They don't run your ads for you. They teach you or someone on your team how to run your own ads. So for the past almost 2 years, it'll be 2 years in May or June coming up, we have been running paid advertising. We've been learning how to run paid advertising. And Lana, who is my director of operations on my team, has worked her booty off and actually become really, really good at running paid advertising for my brand, for my business. So that program, like I said, was $70,000 investment. It's Ashley's highest investment. I believe that it's actually a little bit more than that now, but whenever I invested back in the day, it was $70,000. And essentially, I have access to Ashley to ask questions. I have calls every week, like group calls with everybody that's in my program. It's called the Hall of Fame. And then there's in-person events. So Ashley does 3 in-person events for her Hall of Fame container. So we went on a retreat in November to the beach. It was a little more intimate. There was about 20 clients there with Ashley's team, and that was great. And we stayed in the house, in this big beach house right on the beach in Florida. That was amazing. And we got to roundtable and mastermind with other 7- and 8-figure business owners. She also does an event in the summertime, which is called Launch Your Ads Live. And that's more ads focused, where you go in person and you learn how to launch ads, and it's more ads focused. Now, this event, which we're in February, was called More Than Ads. And so specifically, this event was so much more than ads. Now, I will tell you, every event that I've been to with Ashley has been more than ads. I've learned from amazing guest speakers. I've learned from Ashley's brain outside of ads, because like me, Ashley Brock also invests in her brain and her business. So she has a lot of skills outside of just being an expert at running ads. So we talk about content, and we talk about brand, and we talk about team and hiring and firing and house managers and executive assistants and just everything that business owners navigate as you grow a 7- to 8-figure business. Now, anybody that's in the Hall of Fame, you have to be a 7-figure business owner. So everybody that's in there with me is 7 or 8 figures, which is awesome because we're navigating similar problems, right? And so this event in Palm Springs was called More Than Ads. Now, it was not just for Hall of Fame. This was for one of her other programs too. So there was about 100 clients at this event, and it was so great. It was so great. I have so many takeaways, but I really want to share today the top 5 that really came across for me. Now, Ashley had a guest speaker on both days of the event. It was a 2-day event. So we flew to Palm Springs on Tuesday. We flew home on Friday. We stayed at the most beautiful resort. I brought my director of operations, Lana, with me on the trip. We stayed at the La Quinta Resort in Palm Springs, which was fabulous. I literally was telling my husband, we've got to come back here. Apparently they have a PGA golf course there, and he is very into golf. So he was like, well, we got to go back there. Some of my friends have stayed there, and it was beautiful. I mean, so many just beautiful flowers, and it was stunning. It was a little chilly in February, so I probably would want to wait and go like April-ish, but fabulous time. So Ashley had a speaker on Wednesday of the event and Thursday of the event, and these were two amazing speakers. On Wednesday, her speaker was Adley. And Adley is the founder of Viral-ish. So Adley is actually one of Ashley's coaches. It's one of the containers Ashley has invested money in. And Adley essentially, I think she's like gets over 3 billion views, billion with a B, a month on platforms. She basically is known for like her content going viral, and she teaches frameworks for how your content can go viral. And a big thing that Adley talked about was macro content, right? Macro content. So, so often as business owners, we are talking to like the bottom of the funnel. So it's like, I'm a nervous system coach. So I'm speaking to like the dysregulated business owner that is balancing a lot on their plate. And I'm like, this is how I can help you. Very bottom of the funnel. Join my challenge. Very like pitchy sales stuff, right? And I don't just post sales content, but I am absolutely speaking to the bottom of the funnel a lot of times. And Adley talks about how in order to go viral, and not that I like need to go viral to be successful. I absolutely have not gone viral and I'm very successful. But she's like, you have to entertain the masses. She's like, I'm an entertainer. She was like on The Voice and she sings. So she's like, you have to entertain the masses. Her thing was entertain the masses, educate the interested, sell to the committed, right? So it got me thinking about my content that I post and like, what is the macro content that is going to go viral? And, I've seen this in Ashley's content because Ashley's worked with Adley over the past year, where Ashley will be like in her bathroom talking about, something that has nothing to do with ads, which is what she ultimately sells. But it's the content that's going to get bigger reach. It's the content that people are interested in. And it really made me think about, I have been on a gut health journey. If y'all listen to my podcast, I did a podcast a couple episodes ago about the gut health protocol I'm on and the diet that I'm on and all of that. And that is kind of macro content. I mean, yes, the food you eat absolutely has to do with your nervous system and influences your nervous system and regulation and all of those things. And I absolutely have been tying that content into what I do. But it's crazy how many people they're very invested in my gut health journey. They're like, tell us about the things. How are you feeling? Like, people are watching my stories. People are engaging with me. People are asking me questions about it. People want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, all these things. And that's very much macro content, right? So I've been really thinking about what is that macro content that I could talk about that would, entertain the masses, right? To get more people interested in watching me. I think about this one post I had that went viral. I think it has like 5 or 6 million views. Y'all, it had nothing to do with my business. I actually was, weirdly enough, I was actually at that retreat I was talking about with Ashley and her team in November in Florida. And we recorded a video of me dancing by the pool. I was learning a TikTok dance with one of my other friends that's in the Mastermind. And we were learning a TikTok dance that we were going to teach to everyone else. We're both like have a background in dancing. And we just threw the clip up on my Instagram of me dancing with like a caption about how I was going to be like, I needed to go to my sister's wedding in 12 hours and my flight was canceled because it was during the government shutdown. I have like 6 million views on that. That's macro content. It has nothing to do with, my business, nervous system coaching or anything. Has nothing to do with building a business or business strategy or anything, yet it got 6 million views. Now, are all 6 million of those people business owners, and are those people like qualified buyers? No, but out of 6 million, many of them are. And so if you post more content like that, you get more eyes on you, and then it filters down. You end up educating the people that are interested, and then you sell to the people that are committed. So that was one thing that really stuck out to me. So if you watch my content closely on Instagram, even like this podcast, this YouTube channel, you may be seeing some content that's a little bit more macro, a little bit more content that zooms out. This also leads straight into my second takeaway, which was from our speaker on day 2, which was Jasmine Star. Now, I have followed Jasmine Star for a lot of years. I knew who she was long before Ashley brought her, into the realm. And so Jasmine was great. I really, really enjoyed her talk. She talked about something that really kind of paralleled what Adley talked about on Wednesday. And on Thursday, she talked about your personal brand versus your business brand and really harnessing long form content. So YouTube channel, YouTube videos, podcasts. So it made me really excited that we did start my podcast about a year ago. We've really ramped it up on YouTube in 2026 so far. I'm plan to continue doing that. But she really talked about your personal brand versus your business brand. Now, I kind of have always I've heard this talked about. We've even had conversations amongst my team on should we create a Be That Girl coaching Instagram page? I have my personal Instagram page, but up until probably the last year, I'm I am my brand. My brand is based on my beliefs and my values and what I do. But I think that as I grow, there definitely is something to creating a separate business brand from what your personal brand is. So this really parallels, like I said, to what Adley was talking about, because, as I think about my personal brand, that's kind of where I can go more macro. So actually right before I'm recording this episode, I put on my Instagram story, some different topic ideas. And I'm what do y'all want to see from me? And as I'm thinking about what is my personal brand? I'm thinking about, topics that interest me that I talk about occasionally, like my Catholic faith, that is a huge part of my personal brand. I don't know though. Do people want to hear about that? Right? I love to travel. Travel is a huge value of mine. It's actually one of the biggest reasons why I work really hard is to be able to travel and give my family those experiences, getting blowouts. And I work out a lot. I love health and physical health and my gut health journey and my strength training journey. I work out with a personal trainer and have for years, hiring an executive assistant and kind of what that journey looks like, because she's starting really soon. And so it's kind of what does that journey look like of us onboarding her, and what kind of stuff am I having her do? Almost people are nosy. They're I want to know, what is she doing for you? Even talking about my marriage, my marriage dynamic, because my husband works for corporate. He's in oil and gas. He has a job, and I'm a business owner. And so we both have demanding careers. I travel for my business. He travels for his job. He's, potentially going to be traveling even more in the near future. And so it's how do we navigate emotional intimacy in our marriage and having a strong marriage while being, having demanding careers. So I think that could be a cool macro topic to talk about. Yeah, I talked about travel, my faith, my health. Oh, fashion. That's a huge one. And I've ebbed and flowed where I'm posting stuff about fashion. I'm posting links to my clothes and then I'm not. I kind of have higher end taste. I love designer things. I would much rather buy quality over quantity. But I do love to shop. I love putting outfits together. I love dressing myself based on my color. I'm a winter and my style and everything. So I'm are people interested in that? Do they want to see how I'm shopping for all the work events that I'm going to and using a stylist and all of that? So anyways, personal brand versus business brand was a very big thing that Jasmine talked about. She also mentioned, we talked about AI and how AI is becoming so sophisticated that pretty soon you're not gonna be able to tell if a person's real or not. And so she said getting in-person events is vital, because you're not gonna be able to tell if someone's real or not. So she's get me from every angle. When she was on stage, she was get me from that angle, get me from that angle. I want as many people as possible to know that I'm a real human person. And I just thought that was so interesting, because I also believe that you should get in person for in-person events as much as humanly possible. That's why I host 3 in-person events per year. I host 2 retreats and I host another event that is in person, that's kind of a retreat style, but a larger group. And I just think it's so important. And that's honestly my third takeaway. Being around other business owners in the flesh continues to lift me up. I literally can't get enough of it. I really have to fight to balance between being home enough to be present for my family and my kids, and being able to go to business trips and meet other business owners and roundtable with them and mastermind with them and learn things. I mean, I have so many nuggets from the different business owners that were in the room that I learned about that in their business, so many probably people that I'll end up investing in, up-leveling my brand, or how to chase late payments when people are have failed payments, and automating that. Just so many things that I know will help me and my business grow. And you literally cannot get that kind of information if you are not in person. So, I mean, I go to probably at least 6 in-person events per year. 3 of my own, plus 3 with Ashley. I have a 4th one in April, a 5th one in April. So, I am in person a lot. Way more than 6, probably a dozen times a year. I try to get in person. So that was my third takeaway, is just, I've said this a million times till I'm blue in the face. you cannot out earn, like if you out earn yourself, like if you are not willing to invest in yourself. Like so many people think if they just work harder, if they just push more, if they just work more hours, then they'll make more money. But if you are not willing to invest in yourself monetarily with money into a program, into a container, into a mastermind where you can be around other business owners that are similar to you, that are building businesses like you, like I just can't emphasize enough how much you're going to learn from them. Yes, I learned so much from Ashley. I told y'all I invested $70,000 in this 12-month program. I learned so much from her. And some of the biggest aha moments that I've had investing $70,000 in this program is from the other business owners that are in the room with me. It's just wildly important. So that is my third takeaway. Two more. One of my takeaways was, actually, this is kind of like off the wall, but I have so much self-awareness because of the work that I do professionally. And so I do that work on myself. And because I'm in this like gut healing journey, I noticed how dysregulated I was being away from home, like out of my comfortable environment. And I found myself wanting to cope more with food than I usually do. So I haven't been eating refined sugar. I haven't been having coffee. I haven't been eating bread or anything processed. And I found myself wanting things more. Now, I met with my gut health practitioner before we went. She actually was there with me. And I was like, I really, was having a hard time. She was like, we're going to incorporate starches back. We're going to make some adjustments to your diet. And she told me that she wanted me to have a brownie. Or a treat. She's like, I want you to have a treat, something that you've been really wanting. I want you to have it. And so Tuesday night, when we had our Hall of Fame dinner with Ashley, we had a small, more intimate dinner. Jane, my chef, who I use for my retreats, made the dinner, and she made brownies, like gluten-free, dairy-free, like super clean ingredient brownies. And I was like, okay, that's going to be my treat. And I almost feel like it set off this like reaction, like chain reaction, where then I was like wanting sugar to cope like all week. And it's not that anything was wrong. It's literally not that anything was wrong. It was just this awareness that like when you're in a room with 120 people and you're not in your environment and you don't have your normal things in your house, like at my home, I have like my berries if I want something sweet, and I have, this and I have that. And it's like when you don't have that and you're like a little bit uncomfortable just out of your regular routine, I found myself being like, oh, I want to cope with sugar. Whenever I was flying home from the airport, I noticed like I really wanted sugary snacks when I was in the airport. And so my eating was not as dialed in as it had been. And so I'm really taking that in stride. I'm back home now. I'm home for this week. We're actually in challenge week right now. And then I go to my retreat next week. And so I just thought that was really interesting. And so really, when you're feeling dysregulated and you're wanting to go to coping mechanisms to cope with the discomfort, really replacing those coping mechanisms with a regulation resource is vital. And so for me, going forward with the rest of my travel, while I'm in this gut health reset, I really need to find some regulation tools to regulate my nervous system when I'm traveling, when sugar is not really the thing that's going to help me regulate my nervous system. So anyways, that was just a takeaway of the week because I'm so self-aware and I'm an open book. Like I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm doing my absolute best with this diet and gut health reset. I didn't have any coffee, which was a huge win for me. I'm still, 6+ weeks, no coffee, no caffeine. But I did just notice that being away from home, I'm the type that like, I really enjoy traveling. I don't really think that it's hard or it doesn't make me feel anxiety or anything like that. But I noticed just being outside of my normal environment with the strict diet that I'm on was more dysregulating than normal. And I just felt kind of like I wanted to cope with sugar just for like a little comfort, a little security blanket, a little protein ball with chocolate chips in it to like feel comfort. Okay. So my final takeaway, number 5, is actually from Ashley Brock, the host herself, because Ashley is actually one of my clients. She's a one-on-one client. So I coach her on her nervous system as it applies to her business. She is an 8-figure business owner, which means she's made $10 million in her business. So my big aha moment this week with her was that $10 million business owners are dysregulated by the same things as $500,000 business owners. Nervous system dysregulation does not discriminate. And there was some crazy stuff that happened. So this is not a secret. I'm not like giving Ashley secrets away. She posted about this on social media, but the weather was crazy one of the days, like 70-mile-per-hour winds. They spent like $40,000 on a tent, like a beautiful tent set up with like fine dining. We were supposed to have our dinner meal outside with like heaters and all this stuff. The wind literally crushed it. The wind wiped it out. And Ashley shared with me after the event that she actually is not getting that money back. Like the $40,000 was literally a loss. And that is very dysregulating. If you've ever spent money on anything, if you've ever hosted an event, $40,000 to lose that is a lot of money. For people to not have the experience you wanted them to have, for you to not be able to get the content you wanted to be able to get. You know, she had her videographer there and her photographer there with that different content. They had her team, which y'all, they did it beautifully, seamlessly. You never would have known. Ashley was the picture of regulation, which I would like to take a little bit of credit for, because we really prepared for that. And I was kind of there real time to coach her through it. But she was the picture of regulation. Her team, you would never have known that like crazy stuff was going on in the background. They did not let the clients know. They did not say anything crazy was happening. It's like clearly clients could see that the tent was out, but they didn't make it a big deal. They were just like, we're going to just do dinner inside. We're just going to move the things inside. And it was beautiful. It was perfect. So, but the moral of this story and my takeaway is that, you know, when it comes to nervous systems, women that are female leaders that are running teams and building businesses and navigating life and navigating motherhood and kids and being a wife and running payroll and meeting payroll and the ups and downs of cash flow and unhappy clients and hosting events and spending a lot of money on things, like whether you have a $500,000 business or you have a $10 million business, or even if you have a $200,000 business, you are dysregulated by the same things. You know, some of the things me and Ashley have talked about is just, you know, how sometimes as a business owner, when you have to do calls with your clients, like there are certain calls you dread. And I know you listening to this, you're probably like, oh my gosh, yes, like there's this call with this one team member that I do every week and I dread that call. Or there's a call with this one group of clients every week that I have to do that I dread, or this one-on-one client that I really don't like getting on the call with. And your nervous system wires around those specific experiences. So we talked about how impact versus averages. Actually, Ashley asked me to come on stage and talk about this on one of the days in one of her talks, because it kind of aligned with what she was speaking about as far as scaling your business. She did the 5 T's of scaling. She was like, Emily, I want to talk to you to talk about this because it absolutely impacts the ability to scale your business. And it was how like your nervous system wires around impact, what has the highest emotional impact. So if you have 3% of your clients canceling, that's going to create a really high emotional impact. You're going to have a lot of emotions around 3% of clients canceling versus 97% of clients staying. That's actually not creating as high of an emotional impact. The negative thing, even though it's only 3%, is impacting your nervous system. So your nervous system is actually responding and coding and wiring around the negative emotional impact, even though the average, way above average, is that 97% of your clients stay. And that will affect you whether you have a small business, a big business, if you have a $100 million business. I have a friend who has a nine-figure business. She is still dysregulated by motherhood, balancing everything and all of that. So that was a good aha moment for me, was just listening to and coaching Ashley that week about the things that were dysregulating her, you know, losing money on the event, hoping that clients were happy, you know, dreading certain client calls or whatever that looks like. It's universal. And so whether you have a small business or a huge business, your nervous system is your number one business asset. And I always love to find additional affirmations for me and confirmation for me that is so true. And it was proven to me this past week, because I just can't imagine how much different Ashley's experience of the event could have been if she let that affect her in a really negative way, and which could have easily happened to any of us. So those are my top 5 takeaways. So to recap, macro content, top of funnel content, if you want to go viral, entertain the masses. Number 2, your personal brand versus your business brand, really working on personal brand. So if you have any ideas for me, if you're like, I listen to you all the time, I follow you on Instagram all the time, I think you should talk about this for your personal brand, DM me. I want to hear from you. Being around other business owners continues to lift me up. I will be in person as much as possible. I will continue to host in-person events, and you should absolutely continue to come to in-person events. Let me know if you want to come to one of mine. Being away from home dysregulated me. And it was cool to have that awareness and to realize that I was wanting to cope more with food than usual. And the final takeaway was that, you know, whether you have a $10 million business or a $500,000 business, your nervous system still gets dysregulated by leadership and by leading people and wanting to be a people pleaser and wanting to make sure everyone's happy. And that's why your nervous system is your number one business asset. Because if you are experiencing your business right now as this really stressful, hard thing, there's absolutely another way for you to experience your business without changing anything in your circumstances. The crazy thing is that Ashley Brock has had so much transformation with that in just 2 weeks working with me. And that is why I'm an expert. It's why I consider myself one of the best when it comes to coaching female leaders on their nervous system. So that's today's episode. Palm Springs was amazing. As always, I love going to business events like this, and get in person to events, invest in yourself, push your chips in. It literally will change you. It changes you when you invest in yourself and put money and bet on yourself that you are your best bet. So until next time, I love y'all so much. Bye, guys.